Hello dear students and welcome back to i-nastava. My name is Ajlin and our topic today, comics as social commentary. So let's start. In this lesson you will be analyzing social commentary in comics and you will be exploring and creating your own comic or comic book. For this lesson you need a pen or a pencil, a notebook, internet access, and you can stop the video anytime you like. Before we start talking about comics as social commentary, let us check these three types of comics or words related to comics. The comics is a medium that expresses narratives or other ideas using a series of still images, usually combined with text, that is a section in the newspapers. A comic is a story told in pictures. A webcomic is a digital cartoon, comic strip, or illustration which has been created for online publishing. Today we will be talking about comics as social commentary. In order to fully understand it, we have here with us Mr. Stevenson, who is going to explain it. You're going now to listen to what he has to say, and while listening, mark if the statements are true or false.
Comics are a great medium for social commentary and protest. Comic books have always tried to highlight injustice around the world. With the expansion of mass media, their role has become even more important. The first comics appeared in the late 1870s, but it was not till the 20s of the 20th century that they became a mass medium. In the 1920s and 1930s, they targeted children through humor. Soon after that, the subject matter was expanded to action, mystery, and adventure. The Great Depression that followed opened the door to the criticism of the contemporary society, and comics became a medium of social awareness. Post-war audiences wanted to chill with a romance or funny teen comic, not read about more fighting. In the 50s, that all changed with the introduction of the Comics Code that censored most of the texts. So comics lost their meaning and became just a silly pastime. Comics Code was a draconian set of rules that prevented comics from depicting or discussing sensitive issues like drugs, corruption, or werewolves. The world of comics was faced by another shift in the 1970s, following political unrests of the 60s. That was the time when a group of new writers, led by Stan Lee, revolutionized comics by focusing on heroes with personal issues, who addressed problems such as political injustice, drug addiction, racism, and poverty. In the 21st century, another type of comics came on the scene, that of webcomics, available to everyone anywhere in the world. This new type of comics is interactive. Readers can react and post their comments, like or dislike them, and with so many applications and platforms, they can even create their own comics and share their own ideas, humor, and social commentary. Comics can be about superheroes and their adventures on the surface, but in their essence they express social commentary in a subtle, not preachy way. And since the majority of the reading audience are children, they can easily influence them and encourage them to become socially active.
Let's now check your comprehension. The expansion of mass media has destroyed the comic industry. True or false? That one is false. In the 1920s and 1930s, comics were primarily humorous. True or false? True. The consequence of the Great Depression was the creation of superhero. True or false? False. In the 50s, Comics were a medium of social awareness. True or false? False. Stan Lee wrote about heroes who spoke about social problems. True or false? True. Comics have become a two-way process of communication in the 21st century. True or false? True. The main role of comics and webcomics is to express social commentary. True or false? False. Superheroes are not just about punching each other. They also tackle social issues. You are now going to watch a film, and that film is about superheroes. Your task is to watch the film and while watching to write which social issue these superheroes are tackling. Now stop the recording in order to copy the superheroes and then watch the film. We cannot imagine our life without superheroes. They are not just a super-powered version of a gang fight with villains. Their core function is to improve the lives of ordinary people, and if it involves an occasional punching of bad guys, it is still the fight for good causes. We can call Stan Lee the father of modern superheroes. In a subtle, not preachy way, he tried to express social commentary. This is what superheroes represent. Superman has always been representative of the immigrant experience, a fact at the heart of why he has endured as a true American hero. He is not just from a strange country, but a strange planet. He is not just an immigrant, but a refugee sent to this planet to escape his own. Batman is another superhero who is speaking out against racial or religious discrimination, urging us not to accept it, as that is totally un-American. Spider-Man prevents a villain from hooking teens on cigarettes. He is also rescuing a drug addict who jumped off a roof in the mistaken belief that he could fly. The clear message of the story was that drugs are bad. Wonder Woman's long been a symbol of feminism. She was an attempt to create a character who was peace-loving and fought more with love than violence. Every time she was tied, Wonder Woman would have to break free of her own chains in order to defeat her foe, in order to signify her emancipation from man. The creation of Iron Man was Stan Lee's comment on the notion of nuclear war. He was a weapons manufacturer. He was providing weapons for the army. He was rich. He was an industrialist. And he was supposed to be a bad guy. However, the audience loved him and he became another superhero. The Incredible Hulk dealt with the issue of AIDS. His old acquaintance, John Wilson, was dying from AIDS. And here you can read what he said when he touched him. Some other superheroes are also fighting against discrimination. X-Men are mutants who have learned to control their powers for the greater good of mankind. They are against labeling of mutants and stripping them of the right to attend public schools or leading normal lives. Green Lanterns are fighting against sexual discrimination. In one episode, they had to deal with a gay friend who was beaten by homophobes, and Alan Scott, who is one of Green Lanterns, is gay himself. Captain America first appeared in 1941 when he was punching out Hitler. Later, he became a symbol of American idealism. Superheroes can't just fly in and fix everything. That is perhaps the most important and ironic thing they teach us. We have to look up to superheroes and their fight for social justice and try to save the world ourselves. Let's now check what you have written. Superman advocates for refugees. Batman speaks out against racial and religious discrimination. Spider-Man speaks out against smoking and drug addiction. Wonder Woman advocates for emancipation. Iron Man attacks the Iron Curtain. The Incredible Hulk deals with the issue of AIDS. The X-Men speak out against racial discrimination. Green Lanterns speak out against sexual discrimination. Captain America symbolizes American idealism and speaks out against Nazism. Comics are not just about superheroes saving the world. They also give us life lessons, sometimes through humor, sometimes by facing us with the reality of our own mistakes. We are now going to read some comics, and while reading them, think what they might be about, what they are commenting on. Read this comic and decide what it is about. So, what is the comic about? It is about happiness, the meaning of life. Now read this comic and decide what this one is about. So the comic is about education, unemployment, and how pointless education sometimes is in this modern life. Your next task is to copy these links, and it will lead you to a page where you will read comics. Your task is to decide what they comment on. On the right-hand side, you can see the answers. There are 8 of them, so there will be 4 of them on the next slide. Copy the links, read the comics, and decide what they comment on. Here are 4 more links. Now you have 8 links and 8 answers. Stop the recording and do your task. Let's now check. The first comic was about hypocrisy. The second one was about social criticism. The third one was about cost of education. The fourth one was about value of hard work. The fifth one was about the value of education. The sixth one was about pandemic. The seventh comic was about laziness. And the eighth about computerization. Your last task today is another cartoon on social media generation. Copy this link and watch the cartoon. While watching, try to answer these two questions. What is the social media generation compared to? And what has the social media generation lost? After watching, there is going to be a comprehension check. There is a word that you may not know, to say it, which means to satisfy. So stop the recording and watch the cartoon. In this Mark Maron's film, what is the social media generation compared to? Think about it for a moment. Social media generation is compared to drug addicts. And what has the social media generation lost? It has lost the feeling of empathy, the feeling to understand other people and to help them. It is all about posting things on social media and getting likes for that. We have come almost to the end of the lesson. Your task is to create your own comic and to tackle some social issue that is bothering you. It can be just one picture, more pictures, a superhero, or whatever you like. You can use Canva, that's a special tool that helps you create comics, or you can draw your comic yourself. Send your comic to your teacher. While creating your comic, make sure that you have all the parts that you are supposed to have. So this rubric may help you with that. Let's check what we have learned today. If you have completed all your tasks, analyzed the concept of social commentary in comics, and created your own comic, tick the smiling smiley. If you haven't, go back to the part that you haven't done and do it again. I hope that you enjoyed learning English with me today. Thank you very much for watching and bye everybody.